It's for one more rep. It's for 30 more seconds. It's for crushing your personal record. To see you go from doubting to dominating. To see you move from fear to fight. For you to realize you are strong, and the only thing holding you back is you. Why do we do what we do at Revision Training? So you can see the champion within. Download Revision Fitness, the audio fitness app, from the App Store or Google Play. Or visit revisionfitnessapp.com to sign up today and start your 14-day free trial for new users.
I'm gonna keep on going. You keep going too. Come on, keep going.
Revision Fitness. Let's change the way we look at it.
The careers with the highest demand, highest pay, and opportunities to work at home for people who are blind or visually impaired like me are in digital accessibility. That's why we created the Certified Accessibility Tester Program. That's right, Accessibility Officers, 14-week instructor-led, fully remote, online digital accessibility job training program. It's a VR program where you get trained, you get certified. Guess what? You get a job. So to find out if you qualify, go to accessibilityofficer.com.
Hello, and thanks for tuning into episode 150 of the Eyes Free Sports podcast. My name is Greg Lindberg. Wow, 150 episodes down. I cannot believe we have reached this mark. And I also feel like it's a great time just to thank all of the listeners for continuing to support the Eyes Free Sports podcast. I still really enjoy doing this podcast, and if it weren't for your support, I don't think I would continue to do so. So thank you so much for everything. On this episode, we are discussing a very new sport here in the US called blind cricket. And so we have two guests who happen to be siblings from the great state of Wisconsin, and they've both been very instrumental in bringing blind cricket to the US. So why don't we go ahead and hit the field and get swinging toward episode 150 of the Eyes Free Sports podcast. All right, so here on this episode of the podcast, we are chatting about blind cricket. And this is a sport that is very, very new here in the United States. I'm so super excited to chat with our two guests we have today about this awesome sport. First, I would like to introduce Abey Finklea. Abey, welcome to Eyes Free Sports.
Thank you. We're super excited to be here.
Definitely. And then we have Abey's brother, Drew Finklea. Drew, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much. I can't imagine how amazing this is going to be, Mai.
Likewise. Yeah, I'm really, really pumped about this. So why don't we just kind of start off the conversation here with just your background so folks can kind of get a sense of who you guys actually are. So Abey, if you just want to talk a little bit about kind of your personal background and also your visual impairment.
Yeah, absolutely. So Drew and I, we grew up in Colorado. We've kind of moved all around the states and a little bit out of the country, but I've been blind since I was about 6 or 7 years old. I've got a degenerative eye disease. So when I was younger, it was very minimal. It's been over the course of several years that it's kind of degraded. So as a kid, my parents did not treat me as a blind kid. I was always out hiking, riding horses, doing all the Colorado things. And then I would say it was really when I started high school that I started having a little bit more of that shift, having to rely more heavily on assistive technology. But fortunately, all through growing up, I've been able to be pretty active just with living in Colorado for a lot of the time, being able to get outdoors. Currently, I'm in university, so I'm studying elementary and special education. I've worked in the elementary education system for about 4 or 5 years now. So I am getting my degree to be licensed for teaching. And then on top of that, Drew and I are doing this whole cricket gig. So that has been our wild adventure of the year.
Absolutely, yeah. And then Drew, let's go to you now.
Yeah, I mean, as Abby already stated, we grew up moving all over the United States. We've moved more times than I can count. A large section of that time was in Colorado, so that was a very formative time in both of our lives as far as just being active, being outside, being, just engaged in physical activity, whether it was, like she said, horseback riding, hiking, sports. So I'd say that really definitely forged a lot of our mindsets. And then after that, we ended up moving to Wisconsin, which is where we currently reside. So since being here, graduated high school, started my own business. I was a independent contractor in the construction industry. So did that for a good number of years, and then decided to leave that and get involved in special education. So I worked in special education for about 2 years. And then after that, decided that I wanted to try to have a broader impact. So I joined AmeriCorps and Triple C, was a team leader, led a team on different projects around the states, and then came back home. And after that, started university. So Abby and I are actually both in the same university, different tracks. So she's in education, I'm in business administration and management. So doing that, and then at the same time straddling the blind cricket. So that's been most of our attention this year has definitely been on the cricket. But we're also navigating through university and all those things at the same time.
Wow, definitely a full plate.
Yeah.
And then Drew, just to clarify, so you are fully sighted, right?
Yes, I am fully sighted. So within our household, there are four children. I am the only sighted child out of all four of us. So we have an older sister and an older brother that also have the same condition that Abigail has.
Oh, wow. Wow. Interesting.
Yeah,
Luck of the draw, right? You never know.
you
It's
never know.
one of those things.
Never know.
Absolutely.
Cool. Then let's go ahead and dive into blind cricket. So I'm definitely curious, how did you guys kind of initially discover blind cricket? Let's kind of start from the beginning.
Yeah, I honestly, when I found blind cricket, I wasn't looking for blind cricket. It was very much just a serendipitous happening. So I was a scholarship winner a year ago for the National Federation for the Blind. And so I went out to Orlando for that National Federation of the Blind convention. And there they had a blind cricket clinic happening at as part of their sports and recreation carnival that was going on. So I went to the carnival just to check out some different blind sports. I grew up active, but I'd never played a team sport. So it was always hiking or horseback riding. And so I was really curious to try out some of the team sports that were actually designed for the blind. So I went over there and ended up spending my whole time at the cricket clinic instead of checking out other ones just because I enjoyed it so much. So it was really a magical moment for me because it was the first ball sport I'd played, first time I knew that I could participate in something like that because I never had that growing up. So I got to try it, got to do some batting, some bowling, and I was speaking with the gentlemen who were running it, and they're from India, and they invited Drew and I to travel to India to actually learn blind cricket because there's not anything here in the US to really there at the time there was no programs for blind cricket. So if I wanted to learn it, I was going to have to do it elsewhere. So we got invited by India to head over there, and so we did that in October of last year. Both Drew and I traveled to India for a month, and I was able to do some training with their men's and women's teams over there, and they were very kind and brought me into the teams. And I was the only American; everyone else there was from the local area, but they brought me in, and it was just a wonderful time playing on a team of girls and learning the sport. And then we brought it back to the US, which I know we'll get into a little bit later. But Drew, I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, so obviously my introduction to the sport came through Abby, as she was at the convention, met the gentlemen who were on the India's men's national blind cricket team. And so she interacted with them, also some people from a associated organization, Samarthanam Trust for the Disabled. So we got invited to go over there. And when we were in India, I didn't really get an opportunity to play blind cricket or anything like that as I'm sighted, but I was able to observe the teams. So the girls would all come back, Abby would come back, they'd all be talking, interacting. And so from there, I started to pick up a little bit on kind of like the culture that was being created through the blind cricket. So as I'm sure you already are aware, within the blind community, there's a lot of isolation. So people in their local communities, if there's not a blind community for them, a lot of people end up not having a group of people to be themselves with, explore things with, really call, their community. And so blind cricket was an avenue where these girls from all over the state of Karnataka were coming and having a commonality, something we're working towards together, something we're dreaming of together. And it was something that was just so powerful. And I had seen something similar when interacting with the India men's team in the United States. So it just the camaraderie between them. So as we'll get into later, there's different sight classifications within blind cricket. So there's a spectrum of sight involved. So just like how the different people like looked out for each other, took care of each other, and like, everyone covered every other person's like, weakness. Like one person like might be able to see better, so they're helping the others navigate. But then that other person might, speak more languages, so they're helping the people who are guiding them to communicate with people. And it was just really cool how there was just this group of men that were community, and it was almost like one body. So that would be my main introduction to blind cricket. And I'd say that was what initially inspired me to want to start this for ourselves over in the US. Going back to our time in India, when we were there, most of my time was actually in the organization Samarthanam Trust for the Disabled, which is the parent organization of Cricket Association for Blind in India. So that's one of their initiatives is the blind cricket. So when I was there, I worked primarily in the intellectually disabled school. So worked with their students, also worked in their vision centers where they were training different skills, whether it's computer skills, literacy skills. And from there was able to get even broader sense of the impact that was being made through those two organizations in tandem. So those two things together, I'd say, were the biggest impact on my blind cricket exposure.
That's amazing. Yeah. And I love what you said about kind of the camaraderie and folks coming together. That's been such a common theme among the episodes over the years on this podcast is just, especially with team sports, finding a group, that's super welcoming, accepting, where you can really bond with folks, and work together as a team.
Yeah, it's a powerful thing.
Absolutely.
For sure. So Abby, let's go back to you on this next one. So if you just want to explain how blind cricket actually works.
Yeah, it's a long one, but I'm gonna try to condense it here for
Sure.
simplicity. Something that's really helpful for people to think about when they're trying to understand cricket is baseball was developed based on cricket. So you'll see a lot of similarities between the two. Basically, cricket is the national sport of England. And so as the British Empire was spreading across the world, they were taking cricket everywhere they went. And so most countries that the British Empire touched now have cricket in them. But when it came to the United States, America had to be different. We wanted to do things differently, so we decided to make baseball instead. So you'll see a lot of similarities, and that can help people kind of draw that comparison. But basically, how it works is I'm going to first explain cricket itself because cricket and blind cricket are played almost exactly the same. There's just a few modifications. So I'll explain cricket itself and then dive into the modifications that we have. So cricket's played on a large oval-shaped field, and in the middle of the field is what's called the pitch. So the pitch is like a long rectangular strip of really flat ground, and that's where the main action happens. That's where the batting happens, the bowling, the running. And then in the rest of the field is where the fielders are located, similar to in baseball, how you've got the fielders kind of spread throughout. So on the pitch itself, remember the pitch is that long rectangular strip in the middle of the ground. That is where you have your goals set up. So we call the goals wickets, and a wicket is basically, it's like three poles stuck into the ground, about 9 inches wide and about 2.5, 3-ish feet tall. And that we treat as our goals. And again, those are called wickets. So there are two of those on the pitch. There's one on each side. So it's that long, skinny rectangle, and on each side of that rectangle, you'll have one wicket, and there's 22 yards of space between the wickets. And how the game works is you'll have a batting team and a bowling team, and then halfway through the game, they'll switch which team is batting and which team is bowling, so they both get the chance to do both activities. But for the bowling team, they're going to be the ones throwing the ball, and they're going to be the ones fielding. So you'll have the bowler will be standing by one wicket, and they will be bowling the ball down the pitch towards the other wicket. And in blind cricket, we bowl underarm, so the ball is going to be thrown underarm, and then it'll roll along the ground towards the batsman. Whereas in mainstream cricket, they throw it overhand, and then it bounces on the ground right in front of the batsman instead of rolling up to them. So again, we've got the bowler by one wicket, and then at the opposite wicket is where the batsman is standing. So the bowler will bowl the ball, and then the batsman hits the ball, and their goal, the first objective is to protect their wicket. So as the bowler's bowling, they're trying to hit the the batsman's wicket. So the batsman's first job is to protect their wicket. So they're going to hit that ball and defend their wicket. Now their second objective is to actually score a run, because just hitting the ball isn't going to do anything for them scoring a run. So they're trying to hit the ball as hard as they can out into the field so that it's far from the pitch as possible. And then once they've hit the ball, they're actually going to run across the pitch to where the bowler is standing. And when they run across the pitch to where the bowler is, that is one run. And this is where it's kind of similar to baseball, right? While they're running, the fielders are trying to collect the ball. And you can think of it like a race between the fielders and the batsmen. If the batsman can reach the bowler's wicket safely, then they have won. They've earned that run. But if the fielders are able to get the ball and touch it to the wicket before the batsman reaches the wicket, then the batsman would be out, and we would have to pull in a new batsman onto the field. So the point of the game is if the farther out you can hit that ball, the more runs you can make. Because if the batsman hits the ball really far out and they run across to the other wicket, and the fielders still haven't gotten the ball, the batsman could turn around and run back to their first wicket, and that would count as 2 runs. And they could technically keep running back and forth between those 2 points on the pitch until the fielders have collected that ball, and then the batsman would stop and the bowler would bowl another ball. And that's kind of like the very stripped basic version. There's a lot more to it than that, but that's the very, very basic idea. And then halfway through, so they bowl a set number of balls, and then halfway through, they'll switch. And the team that was batting will now be the bowling team, and vice versa. Does that make sense?
That does, yeah. Very clear, very concise. I appreciate that. Drew, anything you want to add to that?
I would say just some other differences that we have between sighted cricket and blind cricket. So in sighted cricket, most of the communication is done based off of individuals seeing what's happening on the field and making decisions based on that. For us, communication is done primarily verbally. So we have people lining up. So if you are completely blind and you're having to bowl, at a wicket and trying to strike it, you're going to need a verbal cue to know where that is. So one thing we do is we have our keeper, which is the person standing behind the wicket. So it's like you have the bowler faces the batsman, and then behind the batsman is the wicket, and behind the wicket is the keeper. And that keeper is actually calling out here, 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 so that the bowler knows what direction to be bowling the ball. And then that keeper will also give directions to the bowler as to if they're properly straightened towards the wicket. So if the person who's bowling says, keeper sound, and the keeper says here, 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 then we'll actually have our bowlers will point towards the sound of the keeper. And if that arm is straight towards the wicket, they'll say correct. If not, then they'll help them adjust to where they're properly oriented on that wicket. So that's one thing. But out on the field, everything has to be done in split-second decisions. So let's say a ball falls between 2 people. They can't see if the other person is running towards the ball. So in that part, it's also verbal communication. So you actually get to talk on the field to the other people only if necessary. So no, I've got it, or do you have it? And so you really see that more verbal cue in the blind cricket versus the sighted.
Gotcha. Yeah, that definitely makes sense. And I do think of beat baseball. I know I come from a beat ball background. A lot of listeners play beat baseball. Mm-hmm. And I definitely sense a lot of similarities as far as running to the base before the fielder picks up the ball, like you guys have said. And then also the communication out in the field, defensively in beat ball. You definitely got to be chirping. You got to be talking, obviously, just so everyone knows, where each person is and as far as who's going after that ball, etc.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I believe in beat baseball, they just have to reach the ball, correct? Is that
yeah, the base. If they reach the base, then it's a run. Yep. And then if they have to actually pick up the ball in the field or to be considered an out. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So for blind cricket, one of the differences would be the fielders, they have to pick up the ball, but the ball has to reach the wicket. So the batsman wouldn't be out unless the fielders got that ball to the wicket and the wicket was touched with the ball. So I know that's one difference between the two as well.
Gotcha. Makes sense. As far as the length of a game, if you just want to explain kind of how long a game might go, and is it like innings, or how is it kind of broken down?
Yeah, so how we play is we play based on the number of balls that are bowled, and it has to be legal deliveries. So if a ball is bowled incorrectly, that doesn't count. It has to be a set number of legal deliveries of the ball. And so typically the most common match structure is called a T20 or a 20 overs game. And an over is just a group of 6 balls. So if you have a 20 overs game, that means 120 balls have to be bowled legally. And then the two teams will switch their positions. So let's say, if the US is batting first, we will get the chance to bat 120 balls, and then we'll switch and we'll be the bowling team, and we have to deliver 120 balls to the other team. And then in the middle, we have like a 20-minute break. So usually it's 2 innings. So the first inning is about both innings are about an hour and a half, and then we've got the 20-minute break. So all in all, it's about a 3.5 hour game. Sometimes you will see people will shorten the game and make it a 10 overs game, and that way it just doesn't take quite as long. In mainstream cricket, you'll see up to 50 overs games, which will take literally all day to play. So it really varies, but blind cricket, you'll typically see the 20 overs, which is 3.5 hours.
Wow, definitely a bit of a long match there. Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, and about how many players typically would you have on a team?
So there's on the official team that's going to be on the field, there's going to be 11, but then you have reserves. So for us, we have 11 players, but then we have 16 total on the team. So if somebody gets injured on the field, you have someone to replace them. If somebody gets sick, then there's someone to fill in on that. So you need 11, and then you have your reserves based off of that.
Gotcha. I see. So yeah, let's go ahead and dive into this organization that you guys launched, I believe, just about a year ago now, if I'm correct, around the end of 24.
Yeah, it hasn't even been a year yet. It's just a baby.
Wow, still pretty young. Yeah. So if you want to just talk to me about kind of the inspiration. I know you mentioned, Abby, discovering at the NFB convention, discovering blind cricket, and it sounds like the bug really bit you pretty hard there, right?
Yes, it definitely did. It was very much, like I said, Drew and I did not plan for any of this to happen, but when it fell in our laps, we went for it all out. Like we've given it all. So we like I mentioned before, we went to India in October of 2024, and we were there for a month. And towards the end of that month, we started talking, Drew and I and some of the people over in India, we started discussing how we could make this happen in the United States, because I, quite frankly, had grown quite addicted to cricket while I was there. I had a whole team of women I was playing with, and that, just like we mentioned earlier, the camaraderie, and that was something I'd never experienced. So I wanted to have that back in the United States, and I wanted other people to be able to experience that as well. So towards the end of that month in October, Drew and I started sitting down and really thinking about how we could develop a program here for it, especially because cricket is not very popular in the United States, just on the mainstream level. It's just not as popular. So we knew we would face the barrier of people not knowing what cricket was. So we had to have a way where we could give people a reason to care about cricket. We couldn't just put out posts and say, hey, come join our cricket team. We had to give them a chance to try it and a reason that they wanted to play it. So what we did when we got back to the US, we started blasting out a bunch of like social media and email and online, just a ton of online outreach.
Phone calls, all that.
Huh?
Lots of phone calls too.
Oh yeah, can't forget the phone calls. Yeah, so that was like that November, December of 2024. We were really, really pushing the online outreach just to get people initially interested. And that we got some people, but not a lot, because like we said, people just don't know what cricket is. So then in January, we started reaching out to organizations that were interested in hosting clinics for blind cricket. So our very first organization was the Louisiana Center for the Blind, and in January, we went out there and gave a clinic to their students and clients there to teach them about blind cricket. We wanted to give them a hands-on opportunity to actually play the sport. We didn't just want to promote it through the online. So we traveled out there and did, I think, 2 2-hour clinics with their clients there, and it was a smashing success. Like everybody really enjoyed it. We just kept it very basic. It was winter, so we were indoors, and it was that time there was like that freak storm that hit the South, where there was like all the snow down in Louisiana. Fortunately, where we were, there wasn't snow, but it was cold. So we were definitely indoors in a dining hall, actually. But it was still, we were able to teach them how to bowl and how to bat and give them that taste of it, and they really enjoyed it. And that was the start of everything. So from January on, from I would say January through May, Drew and I were pretty much constantly on the road. Like we did not come home often. We would just travel from school to school. We went to like schools for the blind, like New York Institute for Special Education, Washington State School for the Blind. We went to Savvy Services out in Arizona and just hopping all over the country, just teaching people blind cricket, giving them a chance to play it. We would go to the schools and slide into their PE schedules and give them those opportunities. And as we were going, we were signing people up who were interested in trying out for our national teams, and building that list of both men and women. Initially, we'd wanted to start the men's team at the same time, but we had too many people sign up. So we had to postpone the men's and just focus on our women's team this year. But definitely going to be working on the men's team next year. But that was like our big initial push. And then, Drew, I'll let you talk about the training camps, like the program we've actually started for the national team.
Yeah, and before that, I would kind of like to touch just kind of like what we are doing as an organization. So we are wanting to handle more than just the visual impairment aspect for our players. So a lot of people don't necessarily have the economic stability to just uproot themselves and go to these long training camps and pay for tickets and all those things. So when Abby and I were sitting down and developing this, we really wanted to also address the economic barrier that people be facing because a lot of the people that we are interacting with who are in the blind community, if they have like, a tournament that they want to go to for their blind sport, they actually have to foot the bill for their travel or their stay. Not always, but a large number of them have shared that with us. So we wanted to find a way to empower anyone who is coming. If you're visually impaired and you want to play on our team, it doesn't matter if you have millions of dollars, if you have nothing, like, we're bringing you together and making you part of our family. So really trying to take all barriers away for these men and women. So that was really our whole mindset when developing everything is just how can we build a community without barriers? Obviously, there are certain things that are requirements like visual impairment. So but other than that, like making things as accessible as possible. So that was the catalyst for everything. And then Abby explained to you kind of the whole, like, I'd say the front work that we did for building these teams. Right now, our main focus is on the women's team. So we, starting in June, had our first camp out in New York, and we brought out a batch of girls, and they had basically like a pre-selection. So they got to have exposure on a like intensive scale to cricket, and we were able to really see people's not only physical abilities and a bit able to pick up the sport. It was also what are their mindsets? How is their teamwork? Are they looking to build a team or personal, glory? What is the reason that they're here? So we really filtered through people based off of who was going to be able to be a good fit for the team, a good fit for each other, who was going to help progress this community in a positive direction. So after we were there, we then went to the Bay Area, California, and had a next phase of selections for the people on the west coast of the United States. We kind of split them in half. So we had another pre-selection there for those girls. And that one was just even better than the first one. The first one, there's a lot of bugs to work out. It was our first camp and all those things. So we started dialing in on what we were doing for processes during training and stuff. So that one went super, super well. And then from there, we were able to basically select our top candidates. So after that first phase of selection, we then invited our top candidates to come out to an intensive 10-day training camp in July. So we brought them all back out to California. When I say brought out, we completely covered everything. So these women did not have to worry about anything. We got their train tickets, their plane tickets, Uber rides, hotel, food. We really wanted to make sure that they were taken care of. So we brought them out and we went through our final phase of selection and training. So from there, we were able to pick our top members. And then we are now doing our October camp is in preparation for India. So from here, we've already selected our members, and now we are giving them even more intensive training to prepare them for the World Cup. So these women are entering into an area where they are very young. So there is no experience outside of just this year for any of these women in cricket, as opposed to the other countries where they have been doing it for their entire lives, a lot of them. So these women need all the input they can have on the cricket front. It's more than just the physical side, it's the mental side. There's a lot of different things in cricket that are new to them. So this camp, we're really diving into that. We're really trying to give them all those tools. And then after that, we're going to be heading over to India actually before the tournament. So the tournament starts, the inauguration is on the 11th of October. But for us, we're arriving there on the 1st of October, and we're going to give that time to our girls to acclimate to the climate, time change, all those things, the food. They're also going to be having matches with local blind cricket teams. So from there, they'll have that ability to expand upon their base and understanding of cricket. Because until now, we're splitting them into teams and they're playing against their own team basically, which is like, effective to a point, but, now they'll be able to be playing against other teams. And that's going to be really good for that understanding and growth in that cricket before the World Cup happens. So that's kind of our building of the team at this current juncture. And then from there, we'll jump straight into the World Cup. So it'll be a big adjustment for them all.
Yeah,
Wow.
and I just want to add one detail that I didn't get to mention earlier is, as Drew mentioned, these girls knew nothing about cricket. So we have one girl on the team who knew about cricket, but everybody else knew absolutely nothing about how the sport was played, and none of them had played blind cricket before. So their first introduction to how to play was in June. They've had two camps of how to play, and now they're having a third, and then they're going to the World Cup. So these women have gone in such a short time from knowing nothing about cricket to now being the national team and really doing well. So I just like we're so proud of all the progress that they've made, and they picked up this new sport, but they're also just this incredible team of women that support each other and build each other up. And we've got all these group chats right now. Nobody's living close to each other. They're all chatting, and
Yeah,
the group chats are just crazy.
they
Like
are
the girls are always
wild, let me tell you.
they're always
Wow.
sharing fun facts, and it's a beautiful community. It's a wonderful group of women. So just super proud of how far they've come in such a short amount of time.
Well, it takes a lot of courage to, like, obviously Abby and I started this in just the beginning of this year. So we are very unknown. We are like, it's an unknown sport. We're an unknown organization. So for these women to really put their trust in us and, put the trust in the sport and the process, it really takes a lot of courage. Like these women are hugely stepping out of their comfort zones, their families' comfort zones, like, everything that they've known in life. And it's really empowering to see that. Like, they're not just looking to go, like, to a local cricket, team or something. They're looking to do a national team and go overseas and represent us in two countries. Because it's actually a hybrid between India and Sri Lanka. So Pakistan is not able to enter India due to political reasons. So our women are going onto two new countries' soils, representing their country and making them proud. So it's very courageous what they're doing. It's so inspiring.
Yeah, and I think it's great for other people to see that because it can be very intimidating to try something new. It's a new sport you know nothing about. It can be very intimidating. You're worried you're going to show up, you're going to have no idea what to do. What if you're bad at it? And there's just all
Yep.
these fears. And even people like on the local level, that's something that we all face is maybe there is a sports group in your area, but you're a little bit nervous to go out and try it. But I just want people to really take heart and see what these women are doing. And they jumped right into the deep end, and it just took a lot on their part. So kudos to them.
No doubt. I did just want to clarify. I know, Drew, you mentioned October, but it is November, the tournament, correct?
Well, sometimes my challenges with date, come in, and that would be one of those situations. So if there is a tournament in October, we are not involved in it.
Sure, sure. Would be nice,
Yes,
right?
they
I'm glad you
would.
caught that.
No
So
worries.
the exact dates are for our training camp are October 3rd through 12th, and then we'll leave for India on October 31st to arrive in India on November
November 1st.
1st. And
That's right.
then the inauguration for the World Cup is November 11th.
And the
Gotcha.
rest of the whole thing kicks off and it goes through the 23rd of November.
Right. So about 2 weeks. Wow. Definitely a
And
long,
Yeah.
long tournament.
Yep. So every country will play every other country, and then from there, depending on the rankings, there will be the semifinals, and depending on the rankings there will be the finals, and then everyone goes home.
Right. And do we know at this point how many total countries will be represented there?
So there's going to be seven.
Seven.
Yep, we are
Wow.
the seventh
Wow.
country. So, and we are by far
Technically, we're the sixth. Sri Lanka came in after us.
they coming
We're
after us.
sixth.
Okay,
Yeah.
we are the sixth. There is a total of seven.
Gotcha.
So as
Lucky
opposed to
seven.
like, in men's cricket, there is actually 11 countries, and we don't count for that one because we haven't started our men's team yet. But with blind cricket total, there's 12 countries.
I see. I
Yeah, so
see.
there's many more
Interesting.
men's teams than there is women's teams.
We are the only country that has a women's team and not a men's team.
We're
Everybody
trend
starts the men's
breakers,
first.
We're starting with the women, which I think is amazing.
That, yeah, definitely unique, but just super cool to see that. And speaking of the women, I am curious, just like the age range of these ladies, and I assume some have like some blind sports experience or background.
Yeah, we really have a huge spectrum. So during the selection process, we decided that the important things to be looking for were ability to pick up the sport, ability to work as a team, ability to be adaptive. Like, there's going to be a lot of things that we're changing with, whether it's like, habitat, food, sleep, like all those different things, in addition to what you need on the field. So our selection process, we decided we would put no upper age limit. If somebody is 125 and they are able to get out there and kick it, then we're happy to take them. We did set a lowest age limit of 16 just due to legal reasons. It's just very hard to travel with minors, especially below 16. But we didn't end up having anyone who was a minor, which is fortunate just for the side of travel and logistics and like legality, but at the other time it would be very nice to have like the younger side also involved, so we're hoping next year to get that. But our girls range from their early 20s to their late 50s, so there's a huge spread in age. And then also their exposure to sports is also very broad. Some of them have never played sports before in their lives. Some of them have been playing, sports or blind sports for their entire lives. So, like one of our women, she actually just went blind 2 years ago, and so she had played other sports, but not the blind cricket. So there's a huge spread in just knowledge of sports, age groups. But what we really found is that for us, there's a lot of crossover between people who have had sports. There's a lot of just daily life skills that in some cases were more transferable. So people who were really good at like, navigating with, sound, like if they can hear something and go straight to it, like that was far more useful than if somebody had experience, like, using a bat or something like that. So really all the girls have had something to bring to the table, whether or not they have a sports experience or not.
Interesting. Yeah. And I just love to hear about the diversity of backgrounds and ages, and bringing a group together of such a diversity is so
Yeah, it's
inspiring.
very diverse.
That's awesome. Yeah. Abby, anything else you want to add about that?
No, I think Drew really hit everything. Like you said, it's a very diverse group of girls, but I think what's really cool is sometimes when you have a group of people who are from so many different backgrounds and ages and just everybody's so different, when they come together, you can see cliques form, you can see certain people that get excluded, but we've really had cricket's drawn them all together. So with this group of women, even though there is all these differences, people don't treat each other any differently. Like everybody really has worked hard to bring each other in, and it's just everybody gets along, which is something we hoped for but didn't want to count on. And it's been a very, very nice surprise to have everybody click so well together.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you have like small, like, bumps in the road, but that's with anything. But as a general rule, they all do so well interacting, clicking, thinking of each other, looking out for each other.
Great to hear. Yeah. And I know before we started recording, I mentioned the idea of having, some folks on, some players on after this tournament in November.
Yeah,
Would love to kind of recap it. That would be
love
amazing.
that. Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. So let's move on to then the men's team. So I know you guys obviously have kind of been focusing on the women's team this whole year, but I know you are definitely, you have the men's team up your sleeves as well, right?
Yeah, we
Yeah.
We really do. I'll let you take this one, Abby.
Okay. Yeah, so like I mentioned earlier, when we started this initiative, the idea was to do the men's and women's together because we were promoting for them both together, having everybody sign up together, and the idea was to do some co-ed training camps and then select from there and split them into the men's and women's teams. But we ended up having a lot of people apply, and since the way our program works is we cover everybody's expenses, that we didn't have the resources to do that many people, men's and women's together. And we didn't even have the space for it because we had about 70 women sign up and about 80 men sign up. So to pull that many people together in one spot for training just isn't practical. So we decided to focus on the women first. And for the men's, we are planning to open up the applications for them this winter. And then in the spring, we would do pretty much the same process. Their selection, we would pull them out to some regional training camps, select the top players, and then put them into a more intensive training camp to build up the men's team. And then the goal would be obviously nothing is set in stone. We don't have our men's team yet, so we can't make solid plans surrounding matches. But India and South Africa are both very interested in doing matches with our men's team once we get them up and running. So we're really hoping to set something up later next year with our men's team so they can have a bilateral international tournament. But of course, again, that's all hopes, speculation. But that would be the plan for our men's team.
Right. Very interesting. And Drew, anything else you want to add on that?
Yeah, I would say definitely we wanted to start the men's earlier. And I can tell you our men definitely wanted things to start earlier. A lot of them still reach out and like, hey, any updates, and all that. So right now they're being super just really solid on just like, being patient, but also just like cheering our women on, like, so they're going out, they're seeing what like, the women's team is doing and they're so supportive of them. And so that's one thing just like that I've really liked to see from like, our prospective men players is just their willingness to support the other team and, really cheer them on. So that's been really cool to see. And then, yeah, it's going to be pretty much the same process, like Abigail was saying. And then, kind of beyond starting the men's team, like our end goal is to, like, have in every community, like, a blind cricket um, team for people to come out and play on. So, like, sometimes I might have to be co-ed if you don't have enough of, like, one or the other, but it doesn't really matter as long as people are there playing together. And then from there, we'd be able to filter through, like, you'd have regional, state, and then from there build national. So that's kind of like the end goal in this. Obviously, this is down the road, and we kind of did things in reverse. A lot of people start grassroots and they build things up, and then they go, you know, for the national tournament or whatever. But we kind of just jump straight to the head. And we feel like it's a really good way to build it, though, because you get a small group of people who are extremely passionate about it, and then you're going to take them and give them this experience where I mean, it's literally life changing. Like I can't tell you like how much this has changed the lives of our girls and Abby and myself. So then they take that home. So like we have one of our girls in California. She has with her a total of 11 people who are playing blind cricket with her. She did that all on her own. Um, so that's because we're
Wow.
building the men's and the women's teams. But what we're looking to do post that is have them take it back to the community. So from there, they can take up an initiative of building their own cricket team. And from there, they're building a broader community. And then from there, they can all be involved in trickling into like, the different team levels, trying out for nationals, having a shot at international competition. I mean, blind cricket is still young here and even in many other places in the world, but it's growing fast. But cricket is the second largest sport in the entire world. So this is a great platform if they want to be able to experience different countries, go places, see different cultures. It's just a great platform for all of those things. So
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm definitely curious about funding. I know you guys have mentioned, having the ability to fund a lot of the travel and different events and whatnot. And I'm curious how you guys have, in terms of fundraising or even support from India.
yeah, so we were, I would say, very fortunate on that front. So as I mentioned earlier, there was the organization Samarthanam Trust for the Disabled. So we've actually had so much support from the US branch, Samarthanam USA, and Cricket Association for Blind in India. So they have actually helped us with a lot of our fundraising process. And even like there's the manager of the men's national blind cricket team in India. he has been extensively working to help set up things like not only like in India for us during like the competitions and stuff, but he actually came out to the US, helped us with our training camps. We also had two of the men's national team members from India who came out, helped us with our training camps. But from specifically the fundraising side, a lot of that has come through Samarthanam USA and Cricket Association for Blind in India's help on that front.
Yeah, and also we have like in the United States, one of the largest groups of people that play cricket is the Indian community. It's in India, cricket is huge. Like you'll hear many Indians will say that cricket is a religion in India, and it's
Yes.
true. It's very, very
Almost like
important.
the NFL or football in this country.
More
right?
so.
More so.
It's more so like
It's
cricket
more.
is God. It's so fascinating.
Wow.
It's crazy. So when you have, or I would say like our biggest support, like Samarthanam has been able to really tap into the Indian community here in the US because the Indian community here loves cricket and they want to see it grow in the United States because now they're Americans and they want to see the thing that they love so much develop and grow here. So we've had so much support from that community because this is something they really are passionate about.
Yeah, and then also like moving forward from there. So now like during this whole process, like, they've really helped support us and get us off the ground as far as like, helping with fundraising and stuff like that. And then now we're to a point where we are like our board is more coming together. We're building our personal base of fundraisers and things like that. So now it's kind of, we're in a transition period where we're becoming more reliant just upon our board members and our community who is helping us fundraise. So
Absolutely. Yeah. Cool. And then to wrap up here, so folks want to learn more or get in touch potentially with you guys and the organization. I know you guys are very active on social media as far as the organization. I've seen a lot of videos, which is amazing, and interviews with players. But if you want to just kind of give us the lowdown on how folks can connect.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're still working on getting our website launched. We've had a couple snags that have made that a delay. So unfortunately, we don't have the website up yet. But as you mentioned, we are very active on social media. Right now, we're posting all of our player profiles just to introduce each of the players to the world. But then that's where you're going to find all the information about tournaments, and we'll be updating on there for all of our matches, training camps. So really, if you want to learn more about blind cricket, you want to get plugged in, I would recommend going out to our socials on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and it's Cricket Association for the Blind USA. Is our organization name, and you can go out and find us on the socials. And then if you're interested in getting involved, then of course reach out and we can get you plugged in.
Excellent. And I'll definitely include links to all those as well in the show notes, as I usually do, so people can easily find those links too.
awesome. Thank you.
Absolutely. All right. Well, hey, Abey and Drew Finklea, thank you so much for your time. Really enjoyed this conversation. And I just hats off to you guys on all the work you've done. I know I told Abey when we spoke on the phone at one point just how quickly you guys have really put all this together. I mean, it's really incredible just in such a short amount of time to develop the women's team and then the work on the men's team. And it's really, really hats off to you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, and we really appreciate you bringing us out. This is how we grow cricket. This is a great venue for us to be able to reach other people and get more people involved, and not just cricket, but blind sports as a whole, just letting people know what's out there. So we really appreciate you inviting us out onto the podcast.
Definitely. Thank you so much, sir.
Absolutely. Alrighty. Thank you guys.
Okay. And we look forward to having a recap of everything post World Cup, getting some of our girls on here too. So we'll definitely have that next.
For sure. Yep. Alrighty. Sounds good.
Thank you so much.
To hear more episodes of the Eyes Free Sports podcast and to subscribe, search for Eyes Free Sports on your favorite podcast platform or visit eyesfreesports.com. Be sure to follow the Eyes Free Sports podcast at facebook.com/eyesfreesports and on Twitter at Eyes Free Sports.